Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to look at risk and term structure of interest rates. Last time we looked at how interest rates are determined in a bonds market. Today we're going to focus more on why interest rates across different type of bonds differ from each other. The first thing that we're going to look at is what we call risk structure of interest rates. So over here I have long-term bonds. These are all bonds maturing in 10 years. We have Government of Canada bonds, we have provincial bonds, and we also have corporate bonds. Note that even though their time to maturity is similar, the yields across the three type of bonds are quite different. It's your Government of Canada bonds which are typically giving you always the lowest yield. Then you have your provincial securities giving you slightly higher yield. And for any given year, we'll see that the corporate bonds are the ones which are giving you often the highest yield. When we look at differences in bond yields across bonds of similar maturity, we refer it to as risk structure of interest rates. The key factors behind these interest rate differentials are your risk of default, liquidity, and tax considerations. And our bond demand supply framework, which we did earlier, is going to help us establish these key differences. So let's look at risk of default. Risk of default is the probability that the issuer of the bond is unable or unwilling to make the interest payment or pay off the face value of that bond. Now, typically your Government of Canada bonds are default free. They are very, very safe. Governments can always raise taxes or print more money to pay off their liabilities. So therefore, we consider government issued securities as risk free. Risk premium is the spread between the interest rates on risk-free bonds versus bonds which have some risk of default. So for example, if your interest rate on your corporate bond is IC and interest rate on your risk-free bond or your Government of Canada bond is IT, this difference between the two is called your risk premium. In my previous diagram, if I go back to it, you can see the spread is not always the same. The spread is often varying. And if we really focus, we see that the spread tends to become bigger during recessions. So during 2009 recession, the spread is significantly higher. In the early 2001, there was a small contraction in Canadian economy. Spread was bigger. And then again, likewise in the early 90s, the spread is considerably bigger compared to other time periods. For the default risk, bigger will be the risk premium associated with a particular type of bond. Now, how do we evaluate this risk of default? For gathering this information, we have private companies called credit rating agencies, which gather information and then assess and grade risk on different type of bonds. So higher the risk of default, lower will be the credit rating. Lower the risk of default or the more safer the security is, higher will be the credit rating. Some credit rating agencies in Canada and USA are Moody's, S&P Global, and Fitch. Here is a sample of the type of ratings they give us. So we first have in this green category investment grade securities. These are securities with very low risk of default. Then non-investment grade or high yield securities. These are also referred to as your junk bonds. Junk bonds are also high yield bonds. Because the risk of default is considerably higher, they also give you a higher interest rate. So the investor is compensated for holding the security by being offered a much higher return. Let's look at an example of different type of securities with different rankings. So over here we have sovereign credit ratings. So these are ratings issued for sovereign debt. So we have investment grade securities in the top panel, which is your government debt issued by countries like Thailand, Italy, Kazakhstan, Russia, India. Then we have non-investment grade speculative securities. So they give you a higher interest rate than compared to your investment grade, but significantly higher risk of default. And below this is your highly speculative, and these are securities with very, very high risk of default, but they're also compensating you with a much higher interest rate. For countries which have sovereign credit ratings as very low, does it mean that they will not be able to issue any bonds or borrow from the public? The answer to that is no, they can still borrow. However, the pool of investors that will be investing in these securities will be quite small, and the cost of borrowing for these countries will be very, very high. Another thing to note over here is that we see that your investment grade securities, so all of your securities with credit ratings of BBB and above, they're highly influenced by your monetary policy changes. So if there are any significant interest rate changes by the Bank of Canada or the US Federal Reserve in USA, we will see a quick reaction in the yields on these type of bonds. Your high yield bonds or junk bonds are influenced not only by your interest rate movements, but also influenced by your overall economic growth. And again, as you can see, they're giving you a higher return than your investment grade bonds. So if we have a business cycle expansion or boom, we will quickly see the reflection of that in your interest rate on junk bonds. Recently, we saw that because of the COVID pandemic, a lot of corporate bonds have seen major downgrades. Because of the major slowdown in the global economy, we see a lot of corporations are seeing high risk of default. There's a lot of uncertainty, and as a result, credit rating agencies have downgraded a lot of these corporate securities. Now let's look at our demand supply framework in order to see how does the risk premium arise. So over here I have two panels. We have the demand supply framework for corporate bonds on the left hand side, and then you have the demand supply market for a risk-free bond, and you can think of as your Government of Canada bond or a US Treasury bill. Initially, I'm assuming there is no risk of default in either case. So the equilibrium price is exactly the same across the two panels. So we have the same price P1 for both of these type of bonds. If I now introduce the risk of default, which is going to be higher for your corporate bonds, we'll see with higher risk of default, demand for corporate bonds is going to go down. And with lower risk of default, demand for treasury bills is going to increase. And as a result, we see an increase in price for your treasury bills and a decrease in price for your risky asset, in this case, your corporate bond. So we see a price difference emerge over here. Price of your corporate bond is now lower than your price of your risk-free bond or your treasury bill. Don't forget that price is always inversely related to yield. So if the price of the corporate bond is going down, yield on the corporate bond is actually going up. And this gives us our interest rate difference. This interest rate difference is our risk premium, as we just discussed earlier. So whenever you have a security with some risk of default, it will always have a risk premium associated with it. Whenever investors are holding a riskier security, they would want to always be compensated by a higher interest rate. And your demand supply framework easily tells us how that emerges. Now, this interest rate difference between the two types of securities is not only because of the risk of default. This interest rate difference can also emerge because of differences in liquidity. Now remember, liquidity was the ease and speed with which an asset can be converted into cash. So when you have a high cost of selling a bond, demand for this type of bond will be relatively low. And if you have a small number of buyers or sellers in a bonds market, the secondary market associated with this security is now small. Again, this will cause demand for bond to be low. So whenever we have high transaction costs, the asset becomes relatively less liquid, and this again will cause prices to go down for this particular asset and yield to go up. So the risk premium that we saw earlier, the interest rate difference between two different type of bonds, does not only capture your default risk, but it also captures your differences in liquidity. The third consideration that we look at in risk structure is your income tax considerations. In Canada, the same marginal tax rate applies to all interest income. However, we see in USA that some type of bonds, especially municipal bonds, are tax-free or exempt from taxation. So in that case, you will see because the municipal bonds are tax-free, the demand for the municipal bond will be higher, causing their price to be higher, and therefore the yield on municipal bonds to be lower compared to yield on your federally issued securities. So I can write them as IT. So the risk premium, the difference between two different type of bonds of the same maturity, captures all of these three risk characteristics: risk of default, differences in liquidity, and then income tax considerations. Another thing we noted in our time series data, where I had different type of bonds with the same maturity, was that the spread between these securities was not constant. So this difference varied. Sometimes the spread would become bigger, and there were other periods in time when the spread would become smaller. What can explain these differences in spreads? So let's go back to our diagram again. And again, we're starting with our initial price as the same. There's zero risk of default for both type of securities. As soon as you introduce some risk of default, and corporate bonds are typically have a higher risk of default than your government issued securities, And this is your typical risk premium, because as with lower price, you have a higher yield. Now, if I was to introduce recessionary conditions in this economy, if we are expecting a major slowdown or contraction in the economy, the risk of default for your corporate bond becomes even bigger. And with a higher risk of default, the demand goes further down. And with the lower demand, price is even lower than before. And on the other hand side, because these securities are becoming more riskier, these are now relatively safer, and people would choose to hold more of your safer securities, your Government of Canada issued securities or US Treasury bills, in the event that they're expecting a major downturn or a recession. And you can see the price of these securities is even higher than before. And if I look at the interest rate difference, it has become bigger than before. So we see that risk premiums become bigger during recessions and smaller during economic expansions or upturns.